The cells smelled of ozone and cold iron. Run Tolvash had once been a blade of the Dominion, an alien warrior feared across star lanes. Now she knelt, with wrists bound by gravity cuffs, her violet blood drying on the floor. The human buyer stood beyond the barrier, plain by galactic standards, no crests or glowing eyes. He studied her not with hunger, but with caution. Run lifted her head, pride cracking like old armor. She remembered the screams she had caused, the planets burned under her command. Defeat tasted bitter, worse than death. The market bell chimed, signaling her final sale. Humans were new to the trade, unpredictable, rumored to be soft. Run laughed weakly, then leaned closer to the barrier. Her voice dropped to a breath, meant only for him. "Please buy me, human." The words shocked even her, a warrior begging instead of striking. The human stiffened, eyes darkening with conflict. He had come to end slavery, not participate. Yet something in her gaze spoke of survival, not manipulation. He keyed the console, silencing the auctioneer. Around them, the market roared in protest. Run closed her eyes, feeling fate shift. For the first time since her capture, hope flickered like a star reborn. The transfer was swift. Paperwork flashed across holograms, credits exchanged like dust. Run felt the cuffs loosen, replaced by a simple restraint band. The human introduced himself as Elias, no title, no boast. He led her to a small ship, docked far from the slaver lanes. Run expected cruelty, commands, humiliation. Instead, he offered water and space. "You are not property," he said quietly. Run studied him, searching for deception. Among her people, mercy was a trap. She asked why he had bought her. Elias spoke of wars lost, of seeing monsters and realizing they were made. He needed her knowledge to stop the Dominion remnants. In return, he offered protection and choice. Choice was a strange word, heavy and unfamiliar. Run agreed to guide him through hidden routes and codes. That night, the ship jumped to hyperspace. Stars stretched into silver veins. Run dreamed without chains. Yet guilt haunted her rest. She was a killer seeking redemption from a species she once hunted. When she woke, Elias was still at the helm, vigilant, human, fragile. She realized then that her strength could shield instead of destroy. They emerged near a fractured moon. Dominion scouts lurked there, hungry for revenge. Run felt old instincts surge, muscles remembering war. Elias armed the ship defensively, refusing preemptive strikes. When the ambush came, it was brutal and fast. Energy fire clawed the hull, alarms singing. Run took the co-pilot seat, fingers flying over alien controls. She guided Elias through debris fields only she knew. The scouts pursued, confident in their numbers. Then Run made her choice. She broadcast a false command code, her former rank granting authority. The scouts hesitated just long enough. Elias triggered the engines, slipping into shadow space. Silence followed like a held breath. They had survived without slaughter. Run trembled, not from fear but from relief. Elias looked at her with respect earned in fire. "You saved us," he said. Run answered with a nod, emotion tightening her chest. The hunter had become the shield. The human she once dismissed had trusted her life to her hands. Weeks passed in uneasy peace. They shared meals, stories, and long watches among the stars. Run spoke of her homeworld, of rituals and losses. Elias shared music and memories of rain on Earth. Trust grew slowly, like ice melting under twin suns. One night, a distress signal pulled them off course. A slaver convoy, human captives bound for sale. Run felt shame burn through her veins. This was her past, staring back at her. Elias prepared to intervene despite the odds. Run asked for command, voice steady. Together, they planned not an attack, but a liberation. Using fear and deception, they scattered the convoy. Locks opened, chains fell. The captives fled in escape pods. Run stood amid the chaos, heart pounding. She had undone a fraction of her crimes. Afterward, she whispered gratitude to the silent stars. Elias rested a hand on her shoulder. You are more than what you were. For the first time, she believed it. Their final stand came at the edge of known space. Dominion warships blocked their path, leaders demanding Run's return. They offered amnesty to Elias, threats to the rest. Run stepped forward, unbound, unafraid. She addressed her former commanders, naming their lies, exposing their crimes to every open channel. The galaxy listened. Elias prepared the jump drive, knowing escape was slim. When fire erupted, Run held the line, getting civilians away. She fought not with rage, but resolve. At the last moment, Elias pulled her aboard. The ship tore free into the unknown. Behind them, the Dominion fractured under truth and rebellion. In the quiet after escape, Run turned to Elias. Once I buggered you to buy me, she said softly. Now I choose to stand with you. Elias smiled, offering not ownership but partnership. They set a course toward rebuilding worlds. Former warrior and human, bound by choice, not chains. Among endless stars, freedom finally felt real. The stars ahead were uncharted, a dark ocean scattered with faint lights. Run stood at the viewport long after the jump completed, watching the galaxy breathe. Freedom felt hover than chains ever had, because it came with responsibility. Behind her, Elias worked quietly, recalibrating systems damaged in their escape. Neither spoke at first, silence becoming a language of its own. Run finally broke it, asking where humans went when there were no maps left. Elias smiled faintly and said they learned to make their own. The answer settled something inside her. News of the Dominion fracture spread faster than expected. Rebel signals echoed across open bands, calling Run a traitor and a symbol. Some cursed her name, others whispered it with hope. She had never wanted to be an emblem, only to survive. Yet survival had turned into purpose. Elias suggested they help where they could, small strikes, evacuations, truth broadcasts. Run agreed, knowing every act would carve her further from her past. Their ship became a ghost, appearing where cruelty festered, vanishing after chains broke. On a mining world scarred by radiation, Run walked among freed Lubkas. Many recoiled when they recognized her species. Fear cut deeper than any blade. She did not argue or demand forgiveness. Instead, she worked, lifting debris, repairing shields, standing guard through the night. Slowly, suspicion softened into curiosity. A child offered her a piece of synthetic fruit, sticky and sweet. Run accepted it like a sacred gift. That night, she told Elias, she finally understood the weight of lives she had once crushed. He listened without judgment, letting her grief breathe. The Dominion did not remain silent. A hunter ship tracked them across 3 systems, piloted by Cuth Vern, Rin's former rival. He hailed them openly, voice sharp with triumph. You were always strong, Rin, he said, but weakness has claimed you. Rin answered calmly, telling him strength without mercy was emptiness. Keth laughed, promising to bring her back in chains or not at all. The chase that followed was relentless. Asteroids shattered, engines screamed, power reserves bled dry. Elias pushed the ship beyond safety margins, trusting Rin's navigation instincts. When escape became impossible, Rin made a decision alone. She stunned Elias gently, lowering him into a crash seat. Then she took a shuttle and launched toward Keth's ship. Her message reached Elias just as he woke, voice steady and resolute. I asked you once to buy me so I could live. Now let me choose how I protect that life. The shuttle docked under fire, alarms wailing. Rin stepped into corridors she once ruled, every memory screaming. Keth met her with a blade humming, eyes alight with old rivalry. They fought with brutal grace, strikes echoing like thunder. Rin felt fatigue, wounds reopening. Yet something new guided her, not hatred but resolve. When she disarmed him, she did not kill him. Instead, she transmitted his confession. His orders, his crimes, lived to every channel. Keth spat curses as guards turned on him. The Dominion hunter became evidence, not martyr. Rin sealed the ship on a collision course with an empty moon, then escaped in a pod. Elias caught her signal at the last moment, pulling her aboard with shaking hands. He held her as the explosion lit the void, anger and relief tangling in his breath. "Do not choose death for me again," he said quietly. Rin pressed her forehead to his, promising she would not. Recovery was slow. Rin healed in the med bay, scars knitting beneath pale light. During those days, Elias read to her, human stories of rebuilding after ruin. She listened, imagining a future not defined by war. When she could stand again, they charted a course toward a coalition world, forming a new council. Rin hesitated, knowing her presence would divide them. Elias reminded her that change never came without discomfort. Together, they addressed the council. Rin spoke not as a warrior, but as a witness. She detailed the machinery of oppression, the lies that fed it, the fear that sustained it. Her voice did not break, though her heart did. The council voted narrowly to grant her amnesty in exchange for guidance. Some delegates refused to meet her gaze. Others bowed their heads in acknowledgement. It was enough to begin. Months turned into cycles. Trade routes reopened, slaver dens collapsed, and mixed crews became common. Rin trained peacekeepers, teaching restraint alongside strength. Elias coordinated networks, amplifying voices once silenced. Their partnership deepened into something unspoken, yet powerful. Not ownership, not debt, but trust earned repeatedly. One quiet evening, as twin stars set beyond a green world, Rin returned to that first moment. She told Elias how close she had been to choosing oblivion in the market cell. How those words, "Please buy me human," had been a last grasp at existence. Elias answered that he had not bought her, he had listened to her. The distinction mattered more than either had realized then. Rin looked out at a world slowly healing. She whispered a promise to herself and to the stars. No one would beg in chains again if she could stand in the way. And if they did, she would hear them. The galaxy remained imperfect, scarred, dangerous. But it was alive with possibility. Former alien warrior and human ally continued forward. Not as saviors, not as rulers, but as proof that even the darkest whisper could become a choice, and that choice could change everything. The new council world orbited a blue giant, its surface stitched together by cities still under construction. Rin watched transports descend like falling stars, each carrying survivors, diplomats, and former enemies forced to coexist. This place was fragile, held together by agreements rather than weapons. Fragility once disgusted her, now it felt precious. Elias stood beside her, eyes scanning data feeds, already planning logistics and relief routes. They had become a quiet constant to one another, not declared, not questioned. Rin had been asked to speak again. Not to warriors or prisoners, but to recruits, beings from dozens of species choosing to protect rather than dominate. The hall was wide and unfinished, metal beams exposed, light filtering through temporary shields. She stepped forward, feeling the weight of her history pressing against her spine. When she spoke, her voice carried without force. "I was trained to believe fear was order. I was wrong. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, not hostile, not welcoming, simply listening. Rin told them how easy it was to obey cruelty when it was dressed as duty. How difficult it was to stop once blood had become routine. She did not soften the truth. Some faces turned away, others hardened with resolve. When she finished, there was no applause, only silence that felt like understanding. Afterward, a young recruit approached her, hands trembling. They asked if redemption ever stopped hurting. Rin answered honestly that it did not, but pain could become direction. The recruit nodded, shoulders straightening. Elias watched from a distance, knowing moments like these reshaped futures more than battles ever had. Trouble arrived quietly. Encrypted messages slipped through council channels, warning of a coalition forming beyond the rim. Not Dominion loyalists, but something colder, opportunists who saw chaos as profit. They did not enslave openly. They indebted, manipulated, erased cultures politely. Rin recognized the pattern with a chill. Different language, same hunger. The council hesitated, fearing another war. Rin felt old frustration rise, then settle. This time she did not demand action, she offered clarity. She and Elias traveled to the fringe to observe, to gather proof. Worlds there were dim, economies hollowed out, people smiling while slowly losing everything. Rin spoke to local leaders, hearing the same excuses she once used. We have no choice, this keeps us safe. Each lie echoed like a ghost of herself. Elias compiled data, tracing flows of influence and resource extraction. Together they built a case not of accusation, but of consequence. When the coalition confronted them, it was with charm, not weapons. Their representative praised Rin's transformation, calling it inspiring. Then suggested she lend her image to legitimize their expansion. The offer made her blood run cold. Once she would have accepted, seeing influence as victory. Now she saw the trap clearly. Rin refused without anger, explaining publicly how control could wear a gentle face. The coalition smiled thinner, warning that idealism broke easily. Rin answered that so did empires built on silence. Pressure mounted. Trade slowed, sabotage followed. Doubt spread through the council worlds. Some blamed Run, calling her a destabilizing presence. Elias faced similar whispers, accusations of manipulation and human arrogance. One night, exhausted, they sat alone in the ship, lights dimmed, engines humming softly. Run asked if he regretted listening to her in that market cell. Elias answered without hesitation that he regretted nothing, but feared losing her to the weight she carried. Run admitted she feared becoming nothing without the fight. They sat with that truth, letting it exist between them. The coalition made its move openly at last. A calculated seizure of a key supply world, bloodless but absolute. The council argued, stalled, fractured. Run saw the moment slipping toward another era of quiet domination. She did not wait for permission. Broadcasting across all open channels, she called for witnesses, not soldiers. She asked merchants, workers, pilots, and minor officials to speak of their contracts, their debts, their losses. Voices answered, hesitant at first, then surging. The truth unfolded in fragments, undeniable when woven together. The coalition responded with threats, freezing accounts, grounding ships. Elias countered by releasing secured evidence, opening alternative routes, decentralizing control. It was not a single blow, but 1,000 small refusals. Run traveled constantly, standing beside those who spoke out, absorbing hatred meant for them. She did not fight anyone, yet conflict raged around her. When violence finally erupted, it was brief and localized, lacking the mass obedience the coalition expected. Their power dissolved into disputes and defections. In the aftermath, The council reformed itself again, slower, more cautious, more inclusive. Run declined any permanent position, choosing instead to remain mobile. Elias did the same, preferring networks over thrones. They had learned that permanence could rot if left unquestioned. On a quiet world recovering from coalition control, Run stood beneath an open sky, real air moving across her skin. Elias joined her, carrying 2 cups of unfamiliar local drink. They watched children play among half-rebuilt structures, laughter rising unafraid. Run said softly that she no longer heard that whisper inside her, the one that buggered to be owned to survive. In its place was a voice, steady and clear. Elias replied that voices like that changed the direction of history without meaning to. As night settled, stars emerging one by one, Run reflected on the path that had brought her here. From feared warrior to captive to symbol to witness. None of it clean, none of it simple. Yet it was hers, chosen moment by moment. She realized freedom was not the absence of chains, but the presence of agency. And agency required constant care. Their ship waited nearby, scarred but reliable. Tomorrow they would leave again, following rumors of injustice, not because they had to, but because they would not look away. Run rested her hand against the hull, feeling its quiet strength. Once she had whispered "Please buy me human" as a final surrender. Now every step she took was an answer to that moment. Not owned, not forgiven, not finished, but alive, choosing and listening for the next voice that needed to be heard.